First question's from Kirsten Watson. Go ahead.
Hey, Dave, coming off of a tough series in Chicago, now heading into this game and this series, how would you describe the morale and the mindset of this team?
It's good. Not surprising for me. The off day, I think, came at a great time. Obviously, coming from the East Coast or Midwest, got in late, but had the off day to reset. Back in Southern California, we've got Joe Kelly added to the roster, so our guys are ready to win a ball game.
And now that Joe Kelly is back and activated, what is the plan for him? Will he be available as soon as tonight?
He will be available tonight. If need be, can do an up and down, take down 5 or 6 days like that. So, yeah, I'm excited to have him back. I know his teammates are thrilled. So we're going to get him into the mix.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Next question's from Eric Steven. Go ahead.
Dave, you're starting Kershaw tomorrow on 3 days rest. What went into that decision?
I think it was just kind of what happened his last start, and it was 40 pitches, but in 1 inning, and just feeling he can get back out there on short rest because he didn't exert too much as far as a large sample in that start. So he feels good about it. We feel good about it.
Was that part of the conversation you were having with him in the dugout?
No. My conversation with him in the dugout was just pertaining to how he felt and my decision ultimately to take him out of that ball game. And then we shortly thereafter, after the game, kind of circled together.
Okay. And then I guess the other thing with Scott Alexander on the injured list, is that something where, it might be longer than 10 days, or what's sort of his timetable?
Yeah, I think that we can. I know we can retro 3 days, so I don't know the exact date he'd be eligible again. But it's kind of shoulder inflammation, as we stated, and just kind of getting him ready, hot, and then to be down, to then get him back going. It's just not responding great. So I'm assuming it's going to be shorter term, but we just got to make sure Scott's ready when he comes back.
And then one other thing, I guess, with Kershaw tomorrow. If with Barnes catching, is that a game you kind of use Will Smith as the DH then?
That's a thought. So certainly, Will, I like his bat in there. So we'll see how he comes out of tonight. But it's a good possibility he'll be DH tomorrow.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Next question's from Juan Toribio. Go ahead.
Hey, Dave, how are you? With Joe, do you see him kind of going into high leverage situations right away, or do you have to ease him in a little bit?
I think that you look at the guys in the pen as far as experience and some of the leverage that these guys have been thrust into. So with respect to recent usage, Joe's a high leverage guy. So I'm going to use him as such.
Anything new with Price and Gonsolin?
So David threw another bullpen, I think, today. Came out of it good. So the velocities are good. He's responding well. So just continue to build him up and make sure that hamstring stays strong. So he's progressing. I just don't know the timetable, but it's going to be sooner than later. And Tony is going to do an up and down bullpen here in the coming days, and he feels great with his words.
And sorry if you answered this. I have some country music in my ear here, but what are the DH plans for the next 2 days?
Yeah, so I don't know right now, but obviously with Austin catching tomorrow, there's a good chance that Will could be the DH tomorrow. So we'll see.
Thanks, Dave.
Next question is from Bill Plunkett. Go ahead, Bill.
Dave, with the decision to go on short rest with Kershaw, was Bauer a consideration on short rest, or because of the length of his start, he was out of it?
Yeah, it was the length of his start. So kind of we kicked that around as well, but just with Trevor, what he went through and the length just kind of made our decision a little bit easier.
And with Kershaw, he had some physical things he's had to fight through over the last few years. I imagine starting him on short rest wouldn't have been an option in those years.
Yeah, that's very fair. I think that we definitely, obviously know Clayton's history, but as far as kind of where he's at in recent history and currently physically, he's in a great spot. So it just made our decision for us But yeah, in past years, Bill, we would have done this probably.
And how long is his leash tomorrow? Is it going to be any different than a normal start?
I just hesitant to kind of lean just on pitch count, Bill. I think a lot of it is how the ball's coming out, effectiveness, and also stress of innings. So I would just probably in a vacuum just under a regular start, I guess, the leash.
And just to finish up what Juan started, anything new on Bellinger or anybody else over in Arizona?
So I saw a video of Cody running at probably about 60% in the outfield and looked good, recovered well. So our expectation is we'll continue to ramp up that percentage of effort. And then taking batting practice, taking live ABs, throwing the baseball. So it's moving. But again, when you're dealing with the fracture, you still got to make sure it's healed. But I think we're doing a great job. The training staff down there, Stoney is leading that as far as once he is healed, we can get him active because he's done everything around, that he can't prepare himself for coming back.
Thanks, Dave.
You got it, Bill.
Next question's from Rowan Kavner. Go ahead, Rowan.
Hey Dave, sorry, I also have some music blaring behind me here, but with Julio, like, where do you feel like he's kind of made the biggest strides over the last year? Is it with the slurve? Is it just attacking hitters? I mean, what have you kind of seen from him?
I think the thing I've seen is there was a bullpen we had. I think it was on the road somewhere, where Mark and Julio were talking about starting his delivery out of the stretch to simplify, and I thought that from that point on, there was a much more consistent throw. It was kind of in the middle of early last year, I think. And also his work in between starts, his pen work, the intensity has really ramped up over the last 2 to 3 to 5 years. So it's kind of mirrors a lot of what Clayton and Walker's in between starts work looks like. And I think that's led to a lot of his success.
Thank you.
Next question's from Mike DiGiovanna. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, just I was going to ask about Bellinger, but one other guy, Zach McKinstry, anything new with him?
So Zach is progressing. The latest is he was able to sneeze and not feel anything. So when you're talking about an oblique, that's a big deal. We're still monitoring his swings. With the oblique, there's still some fatigue when he gets it gets it going as far as swinging of the bat. So he's progressing. There haven't been any setbacks. So again, I just don't know the timetable, but I think that with all those guys, DG, it's progressing.
Thanks.
Next question's from Dylan Hernandez. Go ahead, Dylan.
Hey, Dave.
Hi, Dylan.
The term slurve doesn't always have like the most positive connotations. In Julio's case, why is that pitch?
You cut out a little bit, Dylan, but I don't know. I don't think the slurve is negative. I think you're sort of in between the slider and the curveball, but I think that's more kind of named because of the velocity and the shape. So it's not as short as a slider, not as big or loopy or slow as the curveball. So with Julio, that slurve is something that matches his delivery and arm stroke. So that's his pitch, So I don't think it's a negative with the slurve.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
We got time for one more. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, Dave, you said that Tony Gonsolin is doing up and down for like the bullpen. Does that mean you're planning on bringing him back and building him up for the pen, or as that fifth starter spot that Dustin had?
That's more of a starter spot. So, with Dustin, I think that if we can get him to 5 and 75, 4 and 60 is the floor to entertain getting him back here. So we still got a ways to go with Tony, but seeing him as filling that starter role.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.